A very good morning, team. EURUSD has been pushing up further in towards the highs after we grabbed that daily liquidity low. Yesterday, we saw a bullish candle, and since this morning / last night, we've also seen a further bullish impulse, which is in line with what I wanted to see. Now, myself, I've been looking for a steeper retracement, and with that, I mean a further retracement in towards the upside, as I wanted the dollar index to essentially push down lower. Now, as you guys know, the overall liquidity highs that I've mainly been focusing on have been, for example, the high over here, the high over here, over here. So I want one of these three highs to be taken, and then I want to see a bearish market structure shift to confirm that there is going to be potential for another downside push. Okay, so looking here at the daily time frame, we can just load in the fractal indicator. If you want this indicator, by the way, it's in the description of this video, and we can clearly see here that the overall daily fractal structure is still bearish, right? So what we have here is a fractal structure with this being the fractal low, this being the fractal high. So from that fractal structure perspective, it makes sense to retrace at least in towards that 0.5 fib. Now, if you look at where that 0.5 fib is positioned, you can then also clearly see it's positioned right above that overall liquidity high. Now, in addition to that, we also had some nice trendline liquidity here, where again we had the first tap, we had the second tap, and then we had the third tap with this bearish doji candle last night. But now since this morning, we've been pushing further in towards the high. So we should definitely take out this high over here of the liquidity, and then what I'll start doing is I'll be waiting for the market structure to shift and to give us any confirmation for a potential further Euro USD short position in towards the downside. So that's what I have there. Now, moving on into the dollar index, what we can see here is that the dollar index has been pushing down lower exactly as we wanted as well. We've left behind what? Well, equal highs over here, or descending highs. If you look at the 4-hour time frame, you can clearly see as well that these are some nice descending highs. And what we're now doing is we're moving in towards liquidity. Okay, so let me just clean up the chart real quick here for you guys and turn off the indicator so you have a nice and clean overall market. Now, what I'm looking for here is obviously this overall little bump in the road here to get taken out, the blue dotted line. Now, what we can see here is that we had an impulsive phase in towards the upside, right? So this is what I call my so-called impulsive phase, the green zone, and we're now within the overall pullback phase where we're seeing the market retrace back in towards the downside. Now, where do we expect the market to retrace in towards? Well, we look within the impulse, and then we look to identify bumps in the road, which are very simply said just liquidity points. So what we have here is a liquidity point over here with this blue dotted line being liquidity, and the second one we have over here. So what I'm looking for overall is the market just simply to take out that liquidity, then give me the 4-hour change of character. So let's say we get a push down, up, 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 like this, and then we form an area of demand, and then from that demand zone we'll then look to trade the impulsive phase back in towards the upside. Now, important to understand is that the impulsive phase will only start once we see that change of character and once we take out a bump in the road, in my opinion, again. So I'm waiting for that to happen. Could happen from this low, could happen from this low. So I'm not saying that the market is exactly going to reverse from this blue dotted line, but I expect that the market will reverse from either this blue dotted line here or the lower line over there, and then the confirmation for that further upside push, that will then come from a 4-hour potential change of character. So that's what I'm waiting for at the moment there on the dollar index. For myself, I'm still looking for the overall, let's say, descending channel here to mature, as we have now started to break out, and what I'm looking for is a reconnection to be made with the overall daily sell for the buy up, your demand zone, your daily fractal structure, whatever you want to call it. And there is also a fib to be drawn over there like this. Go to the 4-hour time frame, and then you can clearly see that there is still some potential indeed for a little bit of a deeper retracement back down to take out this low, maybe touch the 0.5 fib, maybe also make a connection with that daily demand zone. And again, daily demand zone is nothing more than just a very simple sell down before a bigger buy up, and then we can look for confirmation for potential longing opportunities. So that's what I'm waiting for at the moment, and I've been waiting for all week. As I've been saying, I want better prices on these pairs before looking to really get engaged, and the same is for GBPUSD. Now, GU took out another low yesterday on the back of weak pound labor data. So we had labor data come out, or so data about the labor market in the UK, which is actually perfectly fine, because all we're doing is we're just engineering more and more liquidity. Now you can see as of this morning what has happened. Well, again, we take out clear liquidity here. This for me is just, again, an overall little bump in the road, and that's now been taken out, and straight away you see a bearish reaction. Now for myself, it's just a little bit too early to short GBPUSD, as I want the dollar index to reach that overall 4-hour bump in the road / liquidity before looking for a short position on GBPUSD. So what I'm looking for here is, again, shorts on GU, but it's just not a little bit ready yet. We can overall see, again, that we're well within the impulsive phase on GU, right? So this green zone, and I'm interested in continuously shorting it until the blue dotted line here, but I just need now to wait for the 4-hour time frame to give me a good entry. There's no 4-hour change of characters here until we break what low? Well, this low over here. So what I'll do most likely is I'll wait for this dotted line here to break, and this is, by the way, the fractal low, because it's the most recent low that broke this high over here. So it's not this low or not this low, no, it's this dotted line over here. I'll make a tutorial on how to do fractal structure, by the way, very soon. But that for me is the overall immediate low. You also have the fractal indicator where you can see it as well. That broke that high, meaning that once that low were to go, then potentially we could look to get shorts again, because then we've taken out some clear liquidity. However, for myself, the most favorable short position on GBPUSD will come once we take out this blue dotted line here. So therefore I would prefer to see the dollar index maybe make a little bit of a deeper retracement, push GU a little bit higher, and then look to get into a next sell position, with this being here the swing structure, and then this over here being your fib. So I would just prefer to see a little bit of higher price action. But again, if the market already decides that it wants to go by breaking that fractal structure, I will keep an eye open for a potential shorting opportunity. So that's it for GU. Moving onwards into AUDUSD. So AUDUSD retraced as well further in towards the highs. Well, exactly as we explained, from that overall liquidity low that we have drawn in over here. The swing structure on AU is bullish from this low in towards this high. We've taken out the final end boss bump in the road, and from there we've actually retraced back up. Now, important to understand is that the overall, let's say, momentum / market structure here on AUDUSD is definitely in towards the downside. I would personally only be looking for longs once we break market structure here, as for me it's just too clear that it's too bearish at the moment. So I'm not going to be looking for market structure shift and then take longs again. No, this for me here is the swing structure like this, and I would only be looking for longs once this high over here breaks. And that would for me be the only confirmation again that I can look for a potential long. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is also the fractal structure. No, by the way, here we have some fractal structure. But for myself, I would only be looking for longs if that takes out. For now, this here's a bump in the road. This here's, for example, a supply zone. So if we take out this little high over here, so the little bump in the road, we tap into this supply zone, and then we get a change of character, then I'll be happy to look for a short position on the immediate momentum, assuming that the dollar index is going to push up higher. But again, GU is then my favorable position, or a EURUSD short, as opposed to an AUDUSD short. Going into NZDUSD, we can see that NU has started to retrace. Again, very nice if it can push a little bit higher. Overall, I'm just looking for these lines to get taken out of liquidity. So liquidity, fresh supply zone. So I'm looking for that to get taken out, 4-hour change of character, and then we can look for a short position again. So keep your eyes open for potential NZDUSD short position. And then we have the dollar pairs, so dollar CAD, dollar yen, dollar Swiss, and then last of all gold. So dollar CAD continued to push up higher. Overall, this is extremely bullish, as I mentioned yesterday's market outlook. Dangerous to call the top on this one. For now, the momentum is in towards the highs, so try and follow that momentum. We left behind some equal low liquidity here. I would only be looking for more longs once that gets taken out. Otherwise, not interested in looking for longs just yet. USDJPY, what can we see there? Well, USDJPY started again to sell off in towards the downside. Overall, USDJPY is making a nice pullback, and the immediate kind of like order flow is selling off. However, still very bullish. So stay safe with shorting this. It is very aggressive to take these kind of sell positions. As for example, what could happen now is that this just is the liquidity. Then we start to see, for example, market structure shift again. Then you could look for another long in towards the upside. Otherwise, obviously, just follow the momentum down and, for example, in towards this little bump in the road here, which could act as future liquidity. Looking at the yen basket, we can see that we've been pushing up higher from the overall demand zone, which I highlighted here on the weekly time frame. Sell down before big buy up together with the liquidity low over here. So there is potential for the yen basket to maybe make a drive up higher, but the yen strength and dollar yen, let's say weakness, so dollar yen pushing down lower, has mainly been driven by obviously the global uncertainty surrounding tariffs and the US-China situation at the moment, which is causing risk off pairs to do well. Also, you see that with USDCHF, we've been putting back in towards the downside. Hasn't been my favorite pair to look for longs just because of the fact that the dollar index was not ready yet, as I mentioned at the beginning of the week. So it's very risky because, yes, we have a liquidity / bump in the road here. And next to that, the overall swing structure might have been bullish and we were chasing into discount prices. But if you see that dollar index is not ready yet, then you just need to be cautious. And in addition to that, we see risk on or risk off pairs, so the Japanese yen and the Swiss franc, be extremely strong, causing this just to be not the smartest long to take at this point in time. Now, I'll be keeping my eyes open here on USDCHF, maybe for a little bit of a lower drive still, looking at this low here, looking at this low here, see how the market reacts to these lows, and then potentially from there in the future we could look for a long position, but currently not at an interesting level. And then of course we have gold, guys. So gold again drove in towards the highs yesterday, took out the liquidity lows in the morning. Just after I recorded the market outlook, I had this liquidity low over here, this one and this one. What we can see, we took out the first one, and then what happened after taking out the first one, we saw a 15-minute change of character here at the lows right over here, and from there we started driving up higher again. So I hope some of you have been able to take some longs. I got some good messages, so thanks for that. Now the overall liquidity lows again here on gold are obviously going to be this one over here, and then let's say this over here. So these are kind of like the major two lows that I'm looking at the moment. You could also consider this over here to be liquidity, and again, once the lows get swiped, look for the 15-minute change of character, and then again you just simply go long. So that's it for today, guys. Keeping an eye open for those pairs to start moving, mainly focusing on, for example, EURUSD and GBPUSD, just to push a little bit higher or to give us that bearish confirmation that we're looking for. I want the dollar index to take out that bump in the road, and after that I will start to look for longs and preferably also make a connection with what is it, daily demand, right, the sub for the buy, and then from there look for potential longs again on the dollar. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm going to go live inside Discord. It's not going to be recorded, so make sure to join. Link in the description of the video, and if you have any questions, as always, just make sure to let me know in the comment section of this video. Thanks, guys, and see you soon.